side now. No matter how incredible and strong he is, he deserves to die. The big skeleton says he doesn't care that he is trapped. As long as Subai is his master, everything's fine. But then the rebellious disciple slams his hand on the ground and says he learned everything the master taught, including that in war, nothing is wrong. Suddenly, the broken sword fragments on the ground shoot toward the protagonist and slice his face. The protagonist yanks the staff's cord, manages to defend himself, and asks where he learned such a filthy technique. The disciple says that as long as he reaches his goal, nothing else matters. The blade is about to hit the protagonist's neck. Wanshu screams, "No," while the skeleton does nothing. The Queen of Coins thinks that as long as she can kill the master, it's fine. But her ally is acting disgusting. Then the Steel Hand King steps in and blocks the disciple's sword. The coin girl tells him to get lost, but he says he is not moving. He is here to protect Subai. Even the rebellious disciple is shocked that someone using normal abilities in this world could block his attack. The steel-armed guy says he feels bad about being a servant now, but if it's about facing the enemy who killed him, he's obviously going all out. He forces the sword back, extends his fist, and punches him straight in the mouth, sending him to the ground and blowing him apart. The skeleton says something is ascending, and he starts lifting the coin too, throwing it into the sky. The Queen of Coins is horrified. How did a mere creature escape her prison? At the same time, the little bird lands on someone's shoulder, saying they're going to devour that woman. She raises another gold coin, and it looks like she's about to block. Meanwhile, the servant crawls out of the wall completely wrecked. He swears Steel Hand will be the next to die, and uses the illusory sword's technique, slamming him into the wall again. But in the middle of it, he gets distracted. The protagonist cords snakes in and binds him. Steel Hand thanks him for the help, steps in, winds up, lands a clean hook, then follows with a full JoJo-style combo. And the others aren't just standing around cheering. They jump in too. The disciple gets completely devoured. Only his shell is left. Right away, someone says something's off. He felt like mud. The protagonist recognizes it as a body transfer technique, but it burns an absurd amount of energy. And then the guy appears again in front of them, rising out of another mud puddle, saying the master is here but only relying on treasures. He's supposed to be the sword master, so where's his real talent? 1Q warns the protagonist not to fall for the trap, but the disciple keeps yelling, telling the junior to shut up. Then he fires an attack at her. Little Outfit says the situation is dangerous. The skeletons are shocked, but the protagonist just sends a sword to block it mid-flight. The disciple is sure his attack can't be blocked until the giant coin redirects his blade. When he starts to complain, his ally says he can't just kill the junior sister who's part of the plan, but he says someone who protects that master is useless. Now the Queen of Coins starts finding it weird. Why is he attacking one of them? That makes no sense. The disciple seems to realize he really did act strangely. He says he lost his head for a moment, and thanks for blocking the attack. She relaxes and says, good, he really is the man I respect. But while they're all caught up in that, the sword is sitting at the spring. That's when they realize the protagonist didn't block the attack. He threw it into the spring on purpose. The junior disciple asks if he's lost it. Then the water behind them starts trembling and an explosion shoots into the sky. Somehow the kid made a water phoenix, and they start realizing it's not just an illusion this time. The creature is actually alive. That's because the phoenix lived inside the sword, which absorbed energy and managed to materialize it. The junior disciple can't understand how that's possible. This world doesn't even have that much energy. The protagonist explains that a spring like this always has a guide, and the only substances that can guide it are a rhinoceros spirit or guiding mist. Since guiding mist doesn't exist in a world without spiritual energy, it has to be a rhinoceros spirit inside a crystal, an item that's useless to humans but necessary to create divine weapons. I don't understand any of this, but I'm guessing the sword has that rhinoceros attribute. So he threw it into the lake, knowing it would act as the guide, and that's why the phoenix appeared. And the Queen of Coins says that even if he's cruel, his knowledge is intoxicating. The phoenix flaps its wings, and the junior gets wrecked trying to defend himself. Phoenix fire has a property that melts anything it touches. He calls for Xiao Shu and says they have to run. There's no chance anymore, but the protagonist lashes out with the cord again. The junior activates the mud body technique again and slips away, saying they'll settle this another day. The blonde with the painted outfit asks why Subai doesn't chase them and kill them now. He explains that just because he nurtured this divine weapon doesn't mean it recovered all its powers. The phoenix he summoned with the spring only lasts a few seconds, then it dissolves and returns to the sword. The skeletons are impressed, saying he made an incredible plan by pretending he had Phoenix power to force both of them to flee. The protagonist thanks Steel Fist for defending him. The guy is thrilled even if he's a servant now. At least the boss thanked him. Then the protagonist steps into the spring and calls everyone in. Painted Outfit starts taking off the little clothing she has to jump in. But she's got what? A boot, and that's it. She jumps in excited, but the protagonist warns her it's the kind of liquid you have to enter slowly or it resists you and you'll smack your face. And of course the obvious happens. Everyone wants energy. The little skeletons get into the pool. Everybody's like, my god, I need more power. While the women are all shaking from the energy and the other one finally works up the courage and jumps in too. But as she enters and starts advancing realms, she gets more memories about how deep Sub-I's teachings are, how the two of them destroy demons together. She also learns how to cause natural disasters and bring calamity to all humans. She finally understands why he's called Master and also why he's a demon. She is furious. Meanwhile, the protagonist is more focused on the fact that he advanced realms again. At this new level, his perception of everything around him is way sharper. He can even sense parts of his servant's thoughts. But then he's shocked to see why not you stand up. Beautifully drawn, she pulls her sword, points it at the master and says he's a demon that should have died a long time ago and today he's going to give up his life. Lil Outfit wants to know why Sister Wanchu is suddenly attacking Sub-I. Steela realizes that a second ago she was weak, so where is that aura coming from? Both skeletons are sure there's no way to block that attack, and the protagonist realizes Wanchu is recovering her memories as her strength returns too. And this is a blade strike he won't be able to block easily. He'll have to destroy the realm he just advanced to stop it. He's about to sacrifice it when suddenly she jolts and collapses beside him, passing out in the water out of nowhere. Steel Arm says he was going to defend him. It's just that she fainted. He was about to die for the kid. The protagonist just tells the skeletons to check what's going on with her. One of them explains her neural pathways are blocked, and that's what made her pass out. Probably a mind control technique. The protagonist realizes Unibin's fault from the attack he used earlier. That damn former disciple was useful after all, and now that she's changed, unfortunately there's no reason to keep her around. The kid is about to slice her up, but Painted Outfit steps in front of her and tells him to breathe. If he wants to kill Sister Wanchu, he'll have to kill her first. The protagonist just throws his sword into the wall and says that the moment they leave this place, the next time he sees Wanchu, she's dead. He really just abandons her like that, not caring at all. And the protagonist knows it. With so many disciples hunting him, he'll have to kill everyone or he'll be the one who ends up dead. The good part is that every spring like this always has an entrance to another world. It'll probably lead somewhere full of unknown worrying things, but also opportunities. Down below, he finds a wall full of crystal. He walks up, puts his hand on it, and a space opens up, filling with smoke. He realizes the place has a dense concentration of spiritual energy, but it's almost poisonous and he can't absorb it. Still, with his resistance, he can stay there for at least 2 hours. Suddenly, some random dengue mosquito-looking bugs fly in, and the big skeleton appears at his side and starts killing them all. The system says he killed an advanced monster, and the banner gains another point of experience. The protagonist gets excited, because the creatures he'd been killing outside, those zombies, weren't even giving points anymore, meaning he can finally farm again. And he starts spinning the staff. The trio that had been inside again for a second decides to head back out and start killing everything. With that, the staff reaches level 6, and now it looks like it can instantly summon 100 souls. The main character's hyped, saying he needs to take even more advantage of this, and he starts summoning some creatures while mosquitoes just keep showing up non-stop. Back with the girls, the barely dressed one is at the fountain, and Wanchu the taller one wakes up. She's staring at the barely dressed girl from behind, thinking about killing her, since she's friends with Sub-I, and the other girl can feel Wanchu's intent to kill. She's already got the wooden staff ready, prepared for a fight, but then Wanchu hesitates and asks herself what's wrong with her. She was acting just like the protagonist, suddenly wanting to kill an innocent person. Can't complain about the artist, right? At least everything he draws is nice to look at. The barely dressed girl asks where Wanchu is going, but Wanchu just ignores her and walks off, wondering if she was really determined to kill that woman. All of that just because that girl was next to the master. She hates that man, and everything he did is unforgivable. But she also couldn't dirty her hands like that. Even so, she swears that one day he is going to die until she suddenly hears someone laughing. Her head starts hurting again. Some birds fly past and she collapses unconscious. Meanwhile, the protagonist is down at the bottom of the sea, with the staff spinning the creatures to farm while he cultivates on the ground. He says they've already collected hundreds of souls, and those monsters aren't giving experience anymore. Is it the perfect time to leave? No, because a gigantic mosquito shows up. The big skeleton freaks out, and the thing comes in to stab the protagonist. But the Steel Arm King shows up and tanks it. The others warn that it's better to retreat now. The protagonist wants to fight, but his resistance to the gas is running out, too. The problem is not farming a giant creature like that would be a waste. But since his protection is fading, his summons are getting affected too. So yeah, looks like they're getting out. Staff up, he stores everyone and they swim out. The protagonist bummed he wanted one more breakthrough, but then he looks back and sees the giant mosquito chasing them, and he notices that once it leaves the realm it belongs to, it shrinks a lot. So he takes the chance to pull it into the banner. It drops inside a room with other mosquito souls, the protagonist already absorbed, and it starts fighting. And he's sure there's still a lot left to explore in that place. He really needs to get even stronger, but at the same time, he's having flashbacks of 1Q calling him a monster, and he wonders why people think he's the villain. Why did all the disciples betray him like that? To figure out those mysteries, he really needs more power. I think it's because you only want to get stronger and stronger that they betrayed you. Then Steel Arm tells him he found a catalog from that place with records of various creatures. As soon as they get out of the sea, he runs into the barely dressed girl again and asks where 1Q is. She says 1Q also thought about killing her, but then turned around and left. The protagonist tells them to move, while the blonde says that if her friend had attacked, she would have died. It's funny how she says that, and the protagonist doesn't care at all. Boom, they're out of the cave, and he doesn't even react to that information. Then the scene switches to some adventurers in the mountains, finding 1Q passed out. Since she's holding a sword, everyone knows she's an ability user, and in that group, there's a girl named Bayu, who immediately feels some inexplicable connection with 1Q. Yeah, the story really loves putting women together so they can clash. She recognizes 1Q is hit by a mental attack and her nerves are in chaos. After her friend helps her up, 1Q wakes up kind of dazed and recognizes Sister Yudu. Yudu is confused, wanting to know how 1Q even knows her name. 1Q realizes right away that just like she lost her memories, Yudu went through the same thing. But maybe having no memories is actually better. Still, 1Q is really messed up. She stands up. Yudu mentions the mental attack, and 1Q grabs her head as the pain hits again. She's hearing an evil laugh and tells herself that senior brother is destroying her. Yudu doesn't get it. First tell me how you know my name, and who is this senior brother that's killing you? But 1Q is talking to herself, wondering whether she should believe senior brother or the master, who was actually good, and who is cruel. Yu says she has no idea what the crazy blonde is thinking, but as ability users, all they need to do is kill demons and uphold justice. 1Q says she agrees. Since she can't trust either of them, she'll do what she thinks is right. A headphone-wearing guy named Zamyam welcomes her to the squad. He expects great things from Miss 1Q, and together they'll destroy the spirits of this world. She's excited, but also says the place feels familiar, and the group seems to be heading out to collect spirit stones. Then the scene shifts to Yanqiu City. The protagonist, Sarah, and the barely dressed girl are arriving, and it looks like they came because of that catalog Steel Arm found. Steel Arm warns that this place is known as Hell on Earth. The number of creatures is absurd. The blonde on the other hand follows along saying it's the perfect chance for her to evolve by his side. With Subai nearby, she doesn't have to worry. Then the protagonist to staff says the Gun King has finally been collected. They check the item and the giant mosquito comes out immediately. It comes out devouring everything, and his other servants are shocked at how much stronger it got. The protagonist tells it to go back into the staff and says that in the future it'll have a chance to become a boss level servant. It's inside, but trapped in a little cubicle. Suddenly from the rubble, an old man appears asking the young people to wait. It was a bunch of people hiding from zombies, thanking them, but they warn it's better not to go further, because things only get worse. The blonde tells him not to worry, like he can see. Their team is strong, but the old man says they have no idea that Yangtze City was the first to be destroyed in the apocalypse. The monsters there evolved way more than normal, and the closer you get to the center, the worse it gets. He saw another powerful couple walk into the city holding hands, and they got wiped out fast. Steel Arm tells the protagonist the same thing. Better to come back when they're stronger. But the protagonist says every opportunity comes with risk. It might be dangerous, but it could also be their chance to evolve faster than ever. The old man talks to the kids and says, fine, he tried to convince them, but those two are destined to die. At least he tells the kids that now that the zombies are dead, they can leave. Other people who are hiding start coming out, and everyone celebrates. Then a guy shows up calling to the kids, warning that this isn't the grandpa they know. The old man gives a little laugh and suddenly transforms into a body covered in tentacles. A bunch of the humans there had already been infected. Everyone tries to run again, but the creature whips out a huge tentacle, yanks a group of about 15 people and tosses them into its mouth. And the protagonist does absolutely nothing. Everyone gets eaten, and that's it. Next chapter, tight outfit from a low angle, except they painted her skin black. What is that? Artist, are you really going to start censoring now? After all that, she says she's noticing the monster aura is really high, but they haven't found anything strong. The protagonist says they just need to keep moving, but she is starting to get scared, saying she was out of her mind to follow him. Right then, something grabs her leg and goes in for a bite. When they look around, creatures are coming from every direction. The protagonist pulls out the big staff, releases the giant mosquito, and it alone is sweeping everything. And now he's getting 0.1 experience again. That proves he's really heading towards somewhere with stronger creatures, which is perfect for him. He also summons the cute trio, the bird starts stunning everything, and the skeletons and the big hand guys start mowing through them. Why are they painting the blonde black? Stop that! She asks what his goal is killing all these weak creatures. He says it's nothing special, just clearing the path, and starts absorbing the souls. While later, the banner reaches level 7, and with that, it unlocks a refining ability, and all the souls drop into the furnace. It looks like it converted energy not only for him, but for all his summons too. The giant mosquito is excited, saying you can really evolve a lot by helping this guy. Meanwhile, the blonde is kicking around and looking at the protagonist, saying she's going to stay close to him for the rest of her life. Then another old man shows up, asking for help. I guess the protagonist didn't see when this one transformed. He'd already gone farther ahead. The Neapolitan girl, she's got 3 colors going on, walks up, asking why he's there. Then the old man says, the boy looks like the strongest person he's ever seen, but he really shouldn't go forward. Sabai takes a look, pulls the staff, and just tells them to keep moving, telling the old man not to worry about them. Oh no, I should have suspected it. The moment that tentacle monster showed up, we already knew who was going to get targeted. I thought the artist was going to show off some skill, but no, just straight violence. She's getting thrown into its mouth, but hold on. The protagonist rushes in and rips off a chunk. No way he's letting his blonde die like that. With the girl impaled in its arm, the protagonist says the bastard never fooled him. He was just waiting for it to reveal itself. The poor girl is thinking she's an idiot for not noticing anything. They finally stop doing random blackouts to her, and the protagonist tells her to be quiet. She is lucky to be alive and needs to recover. The tentacle monster says it's impressive. The boys saw through the trick, but it doesn't matter, because both of them are today's meal either way. The skeletons and the whole crew rush in, slicing tentacles. The giant mosquito comes from behind, goes in to suck its back, manages to land a stab, but gets shoved away. At the same time, Steel Arm flies in to throw a heavy punch, but right where the punch lands, the creature opens a mouth and swallows him. Yeah, he's getting completely eaten. The first big skeleton goes in from below, but the remaining tentacles wrap around his legs too and fling him back. Meanwhile, the protagonist tells the blonde she needs to be smarter. In a room in place like this, how would an old man survive? And even more, why would he come talk to them? She turns her face away and snaps back that he shouldn't be so rude to her. She's just a girl. But he shoves her to the ground and says she doesn't look like a girl. What do you mean by that? That she's grown. She's furious, saying he's going to stay single forever because of that. The protagonist doesn't care. He goes back into the sea of consciousness again, and this time he pulls out a sword with an eye. He says he used that same blade to kill a god. Known as the serrated sword, he hadn't seen this old friend in a long time. The tentacle old man tells the boy to cut the act. His time is up, and it goes in for another bite. But the protagonist jumps, reaches the top of the sky, activates the sword by grabbing lightning, and comes down with a vertical slash that splits the creature and causes an explosion. Steel Arm drops to the ground, soaking wet while everyone celebrates, and the barely dressed girl is super excited, but the creature is smiling with just its remains on the ground, saying they're impressive, but they don't understand how its body works. Then it fully reconstructs itself and screams that it's immortal. The protagonist says he never thought he was going to kill it. Steel Arm realizes the attack was only meant to save him. Then the protagonist turns to the big octopus-looking thing and says he has a feeling someone is about to kill it. The creature screams again, telling the bastard to become its food, saying it's going to evolve. It sends tentacles toward the protagonist, who's carrying his girl in a pretty weird way like a doll, and tells the creature it should look behind it before talking about being saved. afraid. The octopus suddenly stops, turns around, and looks at what seems to be a mantis, the famous praying mantis on top of the building. It jumps down and starts tearing it apart. Looks like they know each other. The tentacle monster tells that damn old mantis to back off or it'll lose its meal. But the praying mantis tells the bastard to stop messing around in his territory. The tentacle says he didn't want to be enemies, but now that he's consumed hundreds of humans, he's not scared anymore and he fires off an attack. Meanwhile, the protagonist and the barely dressed girl are watching everything. She asks who this mantis date is and he explains that he's the owner of this area. He always knew there was something stronger than that guy because he kept telling them to stop and not go any farther. So that's the monster the octopus was afraid of, and that's exactly why he wanted to keep going. While he's saying that, the octopus actually manages to grab one of Mantis's claws, but he's bleeding all over. Then he grabs him by the neck and tells him to listen. They should team up and kill that kid first. But Mantis breaks free and starts shredding the tentacles again, saying he's going to eat him first. The octopus has already completely sliced up. Mantis tries to devour him, but it looks like his core is already messed up. The octopus says Mantis was an idiot for consuming him. Now he's poisoned and he won't survive. And with things like this, the protagonist steps out of the shadows, saying his turn has come. The tentacle understands right away. The guy is coming to collect both of them, and he says again that Mantis was an idiot. No more stupid mistakes. He's getting out of there and he jumps away, basically saying bye-bye. But the protagonist obviously isn't going to let him. He hops onto the bone bird and draws his sword while the creature warns him it's pointless to try to kill him. He has an immortal body and he's immune to physical attacks. Except the protagonist's weapon gets wrapped in this blue energy and he slices straight through the monster. At the same time, that energy looks like it's consuming him. The octopus falls apart and turns into this leftover substance, like ectoplasm. The protagonist explains that where he comes from, lots of people became immortal against physical attacks. That's why the God's Lang sword exists. It's the only thing that can affect a person's spirit. The octopus is screaming, saying it's impossible for something like that to exist. But Subai tells him to drop the pride and go straight into the banner. Then the skull rises into the sky and the guys already inside the staff get scared their spots are going to be taken. The creature at the same time is pinned to the ground, his spiritual version. The protagonist calls him into the staff but warns that he's going to convert him into soul energy for everyone to absorb. The servants are shocked, then immediately thank him and everyone starts absorbing the tentacle. Basically, the protagonist's goal is to give bonuses to the ones who deserve it and punish the ones who deserve that too. Because in this life, he doesn't want to be betrayed. Then he notices that while he was fighting the octopus, Mantis disappeared. But now that he has that golden core, his perception is even sharper and he senses Mantis hiding right there to the side. He swings and splits the building in half, forcing the creature to defend himself, completely startled, and suddenly he starts begging some lord to save him. A voice echoes asking who's causing trouble in Yangtze City. Must be someone tired of living. The protagonist is instantly sure this person is several levels above him, just from the pressure in that voice. Then a palm appears in the sky, turning into a palm of lava. Mantis laughs and says the kid's death is close, but the protagonist says the one dying now is him, and he slashes his throat. At the same time with the tentacles like on his back, I think, and that palm coming down from above. The barely dressed girl calls out to them. The palm slams into the ground, smoke everywhere. The creatures call for their master, and we see who it is, a guy up in the sky who threw that palm. He looks kind of confused because under his palm, you can see the strange energy showing up. Then the protagonist appears. He managed to use the octopus's power to reposition himself and he's completely fine. The flaming-headed guy realizes he made some kind of contract and it wasn't anything harmless. And in the same moment, he recognizes that the person has a blade in his hand that looks really similar to something. Then we see his memory from back when the world was full of animals running from the beast attacks. Wait, was he a monkey facing off against, I don't know, some Cerberus-like thing? A 30-headed creature. The monster rises up. Its huge mouth starts sucking everything in. And then, out of nowhere, the protagonist appears like from another life. Pulls out that sword and drops a thunderstrike. The creature gets split in half. The whole place explodes, and the protagonist farms that aura, but he ends up exhausted. The whole area gets wiped clean, and the creatures are too scared to go near him. But that little monkey is the one who picked a fruit and went over to give it to him. After that, Before leaving, that guy gave him a spiritual technique. The protagonist said that with those scrolls, he'd only need fruits and the heavens to absorb enough essence to grow. And now the monkey says their fated meeting ends there. But he doesn't seem to buy it because he tells the protagonist he looks like the one who helped him, which is a crime. The sword is also really similar, which is an even bigger crime. He killed his subordinates. That's the third crime. And he even absorbed the tentacle's mana, which is the worst one of all. That's why he's going to die now, and he throws a spinning slash at him. The protagonist activates his creatures, but the whole city is getting swept up. Still, he manages to block. His beast warn him that the guy in front of them is at disaster level. They don't stand a chance. It's time to run, but the kid looks around and realizes they're already inside that guy's domain, so there's no escaping. And besides, they just absorb powerful creatures. It would be embarrassing to run right after evolving. Like always, they're settling it in a fight. He summons the mosquito and sends it in. Steelfish says fine. If Subai is confident, there's no reason to doubt him, and charges too, along with the skeleton and the bird. Even the barely dressed girl rushes in, but the monkey just slaps the sky, creating an ice explosion that freezes everyone. Everybody turns into popsicles and drops to the ground. At least they didn't shatter in half. And the monkey is bold. He comes down and lands right in the middle of them. Now everyone sure they have zero chance of beating him. The middle of everyone giving up, the barely dressed girl, terrified, calls Subai and asks what he did, because it looks like he's about to go for a reckless duel. One-on-one. Now, they're face to face. The lackeys are all saying the master either lost it or has a plan. The monkey says it's interesting that he isn't running and that this way he'll show the power he really has. The protagonist heightens his grip on the spear, shifts his movement, and almost gets to the monkey. But the monkey dodges. The protagonist throws a barrage of attacks, but the creature slips out easily, saying someone at his level doesn't have any chance. But then the skeleton up close activates a green energy. The monkey says all he can feel is warm air. What a joke! He uses that spinning palm skill again and slaps, but weirdly nothing triggers. The lackeys down below don't understand why the monkey's powers seem to be failing. Even the monkey stares at the skeleton, trying to figure out why he's being affected by some low-level tool. The protagonist up on a bird says there's no point figuring it out because there's nothing he can do about it. But the flaming-headed guy says he's about to learn the strength of someone who's reached the golden core level. He tries to activate a wind barrier, but it fails again, and the protagonist drives the sword into his chest. The others start thinking the protagonist really won, and that the creature's soul got pulled out of his body. The creature is wondering how that's even possible, so the protagonist explains, wind, fire, thunder, light, every force of nature depends on air, and his banner isn't just for absorbing souls. It can also create a vacuum around all of them, and that way no other element can manifest. So yeah, solid strategy. Everyone starts sucking up to him, but the monkey doesn't look discouraged. He asks if Subai really thought he'd win with something that simple. He summons a red gorilla and says it's easy to get out of this. He just needs to trigger self-destruction, and nobody will make it out of this city alive. Now the group is shaking for real. If Subai loses, they die too. They're already saying Subai give the order for us to run so we can get out alive. The protagonist laughs at him talking about self-destruction. That was one of the only things he should have forgotten. Then he starts chanting, calling on heaven and earth, the universe, chaos, yin and yang. Blue beams of light with Japanese-style hieroglyphs, all wrapped around it, appear at the tip of the sword. It looks like a sealing technique, and the monkey recognizes something like it from the past, so he asks the protagonist what his sword is called. The kid says it's the God-slaying cutter, and he launches the attack surrounding the monkey completely. But the creature looks confused, because the person he met in the past called that sword nameless, meaning the kid in front of him isn't the one who took care of him. But after that attack, the protagonist takes a step back and orders the creature to become his servant. The staff activates a capture ability, chains shoot out and bind the creature's soul, and it starts getting dragged in. The monkey screams, saying the kid has potential, but there's no way he'd be captured by someone so